Okay, well, while people are joining on, I can go ahead and get started by just welcoming everybody to our first GO-BGC or Biogeochemical Float data user workshop. I would like to start just by acknowledging and thanking NSF for funding both the project and this workshop, and also to thank US Clivar and OCB for their support getting this workshop together and for advertising to all of you. So to start, I just want to give a little information about who registered for this. Who are all of you out there on the other side of Zoom? We have 360 people registered, which is wonderful to see that much interest in the program. And it was a very diverse group of participants spanning across all career levels. So in the middle here, it shows that we have a very nice distribution of academics from early graduate students, early career to more senior faculty. And we have 25 countries represented, which is fabulous to see. And if you can see over on the right, this is from the survey that you filled out, the experience using Argo data. And you can see we have a bunch of people who are novelists or have very little experience with Argo data, which is also great to see. So really quickly, Ken is about to give a really nice background introduction to the program, but what are we doing here? This is to introduce all of you to the GO-BGC program. The GO-BGC program will deploy about 500 BGC Argo floats over the next 5 years, with the idea that this is really to jumpstart this international long-term global observing system of about 1,000 BGC Argo floats. And so what the figure over on the left shows is the current Argo, the core Argo array. And you can see that there are many, many countries that contribute to maintain that roughly 4,000 float array. And what we're hoping is that in the next couple of years, we can spin up the BGC, the biogeochemical component of that, and have it of 1,000 floats maintained for the long term in the global ocean. And the figure over on the right shows kind of where we're currently at. The 500 GO-BGC floats will provide near real-time vertical profiles of temperature, salinity, oxygen, pH, nitrogen, chlorophyll fluorescence, and backscatter and downwelling irradiance over every 10 days, hopefully each float lasting for 5+ years. So it's really exciting. And this workshop really aims to introduce all of you, the scientific community, to the GO-BGC plans and program. But as will be noted multiple times, this program is really just to buy the hardware and put it out in the ocean and maintain the data streamed to all of you. And so what we would like to do in this conference is really to discuss with the scientific community, the scientific applications, and get people excited about using the data. And then last but not least, there'll be a big component of this workshop devoted to explaining about the data flow and getting everybody to the point where they can use the data, including some hands-on tutorials and example code for accessing and working with the data. So a really quick overview of the workshop and how we are going to get to those aims of the workshop. On day one, we're going to introduce what GO-BGC is. Ken Johnson's going to start with a keynote talk about the program. And then we'll have kind of two sessions today. The first one answering some basic questions about GO-BGC, and we have a bunch of experts from the team talking about different aspects of that. And then we are going to have a panel discussion and then move on to the science applications after a short break, where we have some members of the community who have expertise in working with the data talk to you about some of the scientific applications. In day two, we will talk more about the science. So there'll be a little bit of national perspectives coming from the different countries. And then we're going to go into breakout rooms where we'll break out into rooms based on scientific interest and have a chance to get into smaller groups and really talk about different ideas for working with the data. And then finally in day three, there's going to be some presentations about the outreach. And then we're going to break into these data tutorials based on programming language to get everybody up to speed on how to download the data and start looking at it. And just to note, you should have gotten an email from Andrea Fossbender with the links to this. And at the bottom there had some great information about how to prepare for day three. So I'm just going to tell you to go back and look at that email, we're going to ask you to choose a language. There was a nice distribution between Python, R, and MATLAB, and so we'll have 3 different options for which language you want to look at, and some of them require you to sign on to a GitHub repository and download some code. So please take a look at that email. And then we will kind of come back together and have a meeting summary and some questions and final discussion. So before we get started with today's talks, some quick logistics. Again, on that email that was sent out with this link, hopefully you've also found the workshop website, which is shown up there. On the workshop website site, there are pre-recorded long versions of all of the talks. And I really encourage you, hopefully some of you have watched them prior to the short versions, the 10-minute versions that you'll see this morning. But if you haven't, they will remain on the website, and I encourage you to go look at all those. I do want to note that all sessions are being recorded, and they will also be posted on the website. We will be a very big group. As I mentioned, there's over 300 people registered. So I want to remind everybody to mute, and when you are not speaking, if you could please leave your camera off to preserve bandwidth, that would be great. During and after all of the talks, there will be question and answer sessions. If you are new to WebEx, if you go all the way down to the bottom, all the way on the right, there's kind of 3 little dots, and you should be able to open a Q&A box, and that is what we'll be monitoring for questions. During the discussion and panel discussions, there's also the raise hand feature that you can use, and you can be called on. And then last but not least, there is a Slack channel. And so if you are a Slack user, I encourage you to join the Slack channel. And there is a day 1 general room in the Slack channel where you can also post questions. If you want questions answered during this session, please put them in the Q&A or raise your hand. But the Slack channel will remain, and you can ask questions later on to any of the speakers. And finally, if you need help with any of the technical aspects, please email George, and his email is right there, and he is standing by to help with the technical issues that may arise. And finally, for this workshop, we have adapted the OCB Code of Conduct. And just to remind everybody what that is, during this workshop, we will not tolerate any harassment, bullying, intimidation, or discrimination in any form, any physical or verbal abuse of any kind, or deliberate disturbances of presentations or any other form of communication. And just to put some ground rules, just be respectful. Remember to critique ideas and not individuals. Be observant, be an ally, and be patient and kind to each other. And for more information, there's a website for the OCB Code of Conduct and an email address if you have more questions.